I didn't expect to meet Shin-Tua at the reunion 3 years after breaking up. After all, we are not in the same grade. I can't stand his burning eyes at the dinner table. Excuse yourself to the bathroom and turn around. In the dim light, I fixedly looked at myself in the mirror. The year of ginger is over. When he came out, he saw Shin-Tua leaning against the wall with a cigarette between his long fingers. I bowed my head and walked past him as if nothing had happened. Sister, I haven't seen you for so long. Did you even say hello? You're as cruel as ever. I beat my feet. It pulled me back in a flash to the summer I met him 5 years ago. The cicadas in that year were more noisy than in previous years. Every year, you can stay in this room, and the room next to it is your brother Shin-Tua. When your aunt is away from home, you can talk to him if you need anything. I followed my aunt's fingers to the side, has not spoken boy. I've heard of him at school. He is a man of good character and is gentle and courteous. He was good looking when he was a child, and now he is even better looking. The corners of the mouth hug warm smile. I heard that song you, the department flower of the junior literature department, also liked him. Sister, I haven't seen you for a long time. Just let me know if there is anything I can do for you. I smiled back. Yes, brother. I'll call you if I need anything. This year. I'm a sophomore. He's a freshman. At noon I met Shin-Tua with Chin Yan-Chu in the canteen. He came over and handed me a key and left. Sister, I may be home a little late tonight. Here are the keys. I took the key and thanked him. You live at his house? Chen Yan-Chu's complexion was livid. Well, his father was my father's comrade in arms. Every year, people know my girlfriend lives in another boy's house. I have no face. I give you money to move out. I won't take your money. I'll just stay here temporarily, and then I'll move out. He could tell I wasn't happy either. Then you must hurry. I nodded and said nothing more. Summer rain always comes in a hurry. The rain is getting heavier and heavier. When I got up and went downstairs to close the window, Shin-Tua returns dripping wet. He was surprised to see me. Is my sister still up? I was frightened by him. No, haven't you got an umbrella? Let me get you a towel. He smiled and took off his coat, revealing a white shirt. Then I'll trouble my sister. His shirt was wet with rain, too, and his stomach was barely visible against his body. Feeling my face warm, I turned to him and handed him the towel. Put it on. Don't catch a cold. He sat down on the sofa and looked up at me. Is my sister waiting for me? I was silent for a moment. He said, I'm sorry, sister. It's my friend's birthday today. I'll go home with you tomorrow. He said so, but I am a little embarrassed, because I did not have to wait for him. It's all right. You'll dry off and change your clothes and go to bed early. Okay, sister, are you leaving? Good night. I smiled. Good night. Brother is really good manners. The next morning, when I got up, I saw Shin-Tua sitting at the kitchen table. He saw me come out and smiled as he handed me a glass of milk. Good morning, sister. Good morning, I said. Don't you have class today? I'm waiting for you. I was stunned. Wait for me? He didn't answer. He just stared at me. How indescribable feel he is a bit aggrieved. At the school gate, I stopped. Why don't you go inside for class, and I'll go shopping? Shin-Tua smiled. Are you afraid of being misunderstood by the seniors? My mother told me to take care of my sister more. The seniors should know about our relationship. This sound of his sister called, I more and more feel a little small heart. Let's go. Don't worry. Don't buy anything yet. Into the campus, a line of vision cast over. I didn't expect him to be so famous at school. Yao Yao grabbed me when I entered the classroom. Tell me how you know Shintua. You saw it, too? I was surprised. Tell me, how did you meet? I knew I wouldn't get away with not telling her. He is my Uncle Shin's son. So you two are living together now? Her voice was so loud that many of my classmates turned to look at us. I quickly covered her mouth. What nonsense. Stay here for a while. She had a wicked smile on her face. You don't know your brother when you're young, but you treat him like a treasure. Yao Yao has always disliked Chen Yanchu. She said she was conceited and that her family's money made her great. I smiled and said nothing. Chen Yanchu did look like that. Shin, on the other hand, was polite to everyone. I saw Shintua playing basketball when I passed the playground after school. He saw me stumble and fall to the ground while someone dribbled the ball. I hurried over. Are you all right, Shintua? Go to the school nurse. He shook his head at his ankles. It's okay. Just help me home. The boy who knocked him down ran over and helped me get Shin up. Come on, Tua, I feel like I didn't even hit you. It's okay. I was just distracted. He put his arm around my shoulder and his fingers kept touching my skin. I feel my heart beating a little faster. The boy was so surprised. Who is this beautiful woman? Her girlfriend? I explained awkwardly. I'm his sister. Shintua looked at me with drooping eyes and smiled without explaining anything. His house is close to the school and it doesn't take long to walk there. Sister, why are your ears red? Is it hot? He pinched my ear with his finger. I felt as if my whole body had been electrified. Don't touch it, it's hot. Finally made it home. I helped him to the sofa and sat him down. Thank you, sister. There's some spray in the medicine cabinet. Can you hold it for me? He pointed to the medicine cabinet in the corner. No sooner had I handed over the medicine box than Chen Yanchu's phone rang in. Hey, first words? Jiang Nian, my friend told me that you and Shintua are going home hand in hand. Where do you put my face? His shout was so loud that Shintua raised his head and gave me a meaningful look. I walked awkwardly to my room. He was injured while playing and I was passing by. As an older sister, I can't ignore it, can I? He's not your own brother. I don't approve of you living with him. His attitude is getting tougher and tougher. Chen Yanchu, I repeat, I don't live with him. I live in his house because of Uncle Shin. Kong Nian, how can I save face if you spread the word about my school? I'm a little upset. My family is not in good condition. The problem of paying for elite colleges has made life even more difficult for parents. Otherwise, I wouldn't choose to move out of school and live in Shintuo's home. Face? The first fight because you said I always wear that pair of shoes, let you lose face. The second fight on your birthday treat. I advised you to spend less money, you said that you lose face. The third time you said I live in his house, you have no face. Face is so important. Why did you chase me for so long? Why don't you just be with face? I was so angry that I couldn't choose my words, and I felt a little regret after I said them. Ginger, do you really like you when I'm your father? Try dating a poor student. Do you really think you're a swan? Get out. Don't come looking for me. What I regret now is that I agreed to him on the spur of the moment. A few minutes later there was a knock at the door. Sister? I collected my breath and went over to open the door. He was so close that I could see a small mole on his white neck. Is it because of me that you quarreled with the seniors? Sister? I quickly waved my hand. No, it's none of your business. Did your sister break up? He's getting closer and closer like me. Eyes changed before the gentle. It's like I'm staring at my prey. Step by step I stepped back. The elder sister is so good, how don't know cherish, if it is me, will not let the elder sister sad. He banged his back against the table with a chink. I grew more and more incredulous, and my eyes widened. What are you talking about? He put a hand on my waist and rubbed it. I slapped his hand away. Don't touch me. His smile didn't change. Have you ever heard of her? What? He bent down close to my ear, sister by day, sister by night. I shoved him away. Get out. Just kidding, sis. I'm just teasing. Come in and get something. He pulled a book out of the cupboard and went out. I froze in my room. I can't come back for a long time. For days I had been avoiding him on purpose. He's not answering his phone. I didn't answer any of my texts. He didn't call again. I came home after school. Uncle Shen and Aunt Shen, and he was sitting at the kitchen table. Hello, Uncle and Aunt, aren't you busy today? Your uncle and I just got back from the city. We're going out again tomorrow. I went over and sat down next to him. He didn't look at me. He ate slowly and with his head down. Year after year, have you fallen in love yet? Uncle Shen asked suddenly. I almost bit my tongue off. Uncle, we talked about, just broke up. Shin Tua chuckled. You seem satisfied with me saying that? Does Nian Nian prefer the older ones or the younger ones? I suddenly froze. Shin Tua put his hand on my leg. The fingers consciously or unconsciously tapped a few times. How dare he? Across from his mom and dad? Is he out of his mind? I put my chopsticks down. Sit up straight and pinch his hand as if nothing were wrong with his face. I didn't think he'd take my hand too much. I said out loud, I like something bigger than me. Aunt suddenly clapped her hands and said happily, I happen to have a friend's son is particularly good, has been working, after you introduce it. I'm a little guilty. Shintua took hold of my hand and went deep into my thigh. I knew he was angry. He threatened me. I jumped to my feet and shook his hand. No, thank you, Auntie. I don't want to fall in love yet. Sister, didn't you say you were going to teach me to look at the subject? His mocking voice rose from behind him. I looked back at his innocent face and muttered a curse. Come with me now, brother. Into the room. He sat on the bed and looked at me playfully. I lowered my voice. Are you crazy? What are you doing in front of your aunt and uncle? He hooked his lips and looked careless. Sister, what have I done? How dare he be so shameless? I suddenly think of the afternoon Yao Yao said Chen Yan-Chu outside the school was beaten black and blue, to now have not found who is the person. I began to regret calling him in. Shin Tua, did you do that thing with Chen Yan-Chu? It's me. He admitted it. I leaned back uneasily against the wall. Why is my sister avoiding me? He cocked his neck. Afraid of me? I was a little shaken by his stare. What do you want to do? He stood up and moved closer to me. What did my sister say I wanted? Shintua, are you sick? The room was silent. I didn't dare to look up at him. Yes, sister, don't hide from me anymore. He touched my ear and turned away. I stared at his back. Asshole. Sick. I've been feeling blue the last few days. Yao Yao, help me find a part-time job. You're going to have a part-time job soon. I want to move out. She touched my head. No fever? Wouldn't it be nice to live with a brother who is both gentle and handsome? Tenderness? You must have misunderstood that word. I really cannot say Shintua those words, do those things. Shintua sent me a message in the afternoon. Come home together after school. You go ahead. I need a job. He called straight away, and I could feel his anger through the screen. Sis, are you trying to piss me off? It's none of your business. I always work part-time during the holidays. I was about to hang up when his voice came over. Make a bet, sister. I was stunned. What's the bet? His tone is very firm, and I fall in love with 3 months. 3 months later, if you don't like me, I will not pester you. Deal. If you don't pick something up, you won't pick it up. I'm having a hard time getting rid of him. As long as you don't avoid me, otherwise the deadline will be extended. Yes, but don't tell anyone about it. I wanted to play with him for 3 months and have a quiet day. But he played himself into it. Song Yu's appearance pulled me out from the memory. It turned out that he had been with Song Yu. That sentence long time no see nip in the bud. I went back to the compartment to find an excuse and I left. Out of the restaurant, I found it was raining cats and dogs. Today, I went out in a hurry. I only wore a dress, and I didn't bring an umbrella. Maybe it's a little cold. I feel like I'm shaking. I put my bag on my head and ran to the bus stop. A black Cayenne pulled up in front of me amid the misty rain. The windows rolled down, revealing Shen's angular face. Get in. He didn't use the same strong voice as when he had called me sister. I don't understand why he came out, why his girlfriend wasn't in the car. No. He wasn't talking, just staring at me like he used to, the car behind him honking. I sighed and got into the car. I was always the one who lost in front of him. He threw me a coat. Put it on. I don't want to put it on for you. I have some hesitation, Shintua, you will let me think that you cannot forget me. He lit a cigarette, inhaled it and exhaled it slowly, filling the car with the smell of cigarettes. I remembered the first time I saw him smoke. It wasn't long after the relationship was established that the holidays began. I hide from Shintua during the day, but I can't hide from him at night. He picks me up from work every day and stays in my room when he gets home. Nian Nian, are you at home? There was a sudden knock on Uncle Shin's door. I held my breath, nervous, but he looked malicious to open the door. I held his hand and lowered my voice. Don't make a sound. Go under the covers, or the bed is off. I opened the door a crack. Uncle, what's the matter? Nothing. I wanted to ask you if you saw Shintua. No one answered my call to him. I think he went out with his classmates. I felt even more guilty after I lied. Uncle Shin treated me so well that I took care of his son in bed. As soon as Uncle Shin left, I pulled Shintua in the quilt. He yanked me onto the bed and pulled the covers over me. Eyes meet in the dimness under the bedclothes. I saw the look in his eyes, and I wanted to run away. Sister, do you want to kiss? How could he call my sister and ask such a question? The more I wriggled, the tighter he pulled. Shintua, don't be crazy. He didn't say a word, but as he drew closer and closer, and immediately touched my lips, I instinctively tilted my head. He laughed at himself. Sister really is not willing to lie to deceive me. I looked at the sadness in his eyes. I'm sorry. He got up without a word and went out. On my way out, I saw him on the balcony, head down, lighting a cigarette, looking sideways at me. I was stunned for a moment. Doesn't he smoke? Why do I smoke? He saw the doubt in my eyes. I looked at him and didn't say anything. He smiled. Do you believe me when I say it's because of you? Pull back the memory. I got out of the car and went home. What did Shintua say just now? I begged you so much, even if you wanted to break up, I still can't put you down. Ginger, do you think I'm that cheap? I wiped away my tears. Yeah, when we broke up like that. He'll never like me again. I took a cold can of beer out of the fridge. When did I begin to like him? I think it was that time. I worked part-time in a milk tea shop that afternoon. Chin Yenshu with he didn't know which is the first girlfriend to mock me. Yo, why did you come out to work? Shintua doesn't give you money to spend? He was so cheap and smiling, how could I have been so blind? What to drink? We'll be closed soon. Hurry up, Mr. Trouble. Why are you pretending? Tell me how many times you slept with Shintua? How much do I pay you at one time? Why don't you play it for me? The words just dropped. When I raised my eyes, Shintua had already knocked him to the ground with one punch. I quickly came out from behind and grabbed his arm. Shintua, calm down. I don't know when he arrived. I didn't expect him to fight so hard. How can you hit someone? Who are you? Next to the woman holding Chin Yanchu. Shintua didn't even look at her. How dare you say that? You forgot the last time I beat you up so fast? Chin Yanchu directly rushed up. Fuck, last time is you? I was pushed to the ground by Chen Yanchu. My eyes turned red when I saw Shintua. He licked his lips and smiled. The gods are not here to save you today. Chen Yanchu was scared back again and again. It was the woman who called the police. Uncle Shin took us home and fined Shintua for 3 days. The reason was that Shintua said at the police station, I don't like him, so I'll hit him if I want. Chin Yanchu was hit not light, Uncle Shin to lose a lot of money. The next night, Shintua sent me a message to come over. He was curled up in bed like a puppy when I came over. Sister, I am in pain. I just found out he was hurt, too. Guiltily, I washed his wounds and looked up to see how close I was to him. My eyes met and I bowed my head. Don't be so rash next time. What's a man like that doing with him? There was a wicked smile on his lips. Sister, you feel sorry for me, don't you? Don't be ridiculous. I think my sister likes me. I think you still feel light pain. Why doesn't my sister like me and treat my wounds? He was waiting for me here. Little liar. I remember spending a lot of time with him that night. He told me that at first he just thought I was being nice and trying to tease me, but I didn't react that well. Hiding from him for a few days, he suppressed himself not to find me, non-stop smoking every day. To his surprise, his mother set him up again. I asked him why it had to be me. He said that because it was you a long time ago, it could only be you. I looked up at his warm and hot eyes, heartbeat beat a beat, a blank mind. He bent down and took hold of my lips, and I was forced to meet him with his hand on my head. When the kiss was over, he held my head in his arms. Sister, you are as sweet as my dream. I blushed and patted him. Can you not call me sister at this hour? Don't you find calling your sister taboo at a time like this? What he said was really serious. After a few bottles of beer, I began to feel a bit tipsy. I curled up in the corner of the balcony, holding their own, bite the lower lip. I don't want to hear myself cry. And I don't want to admit that I don't want anyone but him. I haven't had a dream in years. The dream goes back to the hysteria of the day they broke up. His eyes were all scarlet. Ginger, think carefully, if you must break up, we will never be able to do it again. I opened my eyes with a jerk. I can't tell if it's sweat or tears on my face. I sit on the balcony and breathe for a while. There is still life to be lived. Mom called me. As expected, another blind date. My parents knew about Shintua and me. Mom wants you to get over it. I've set you up on blind dates for years, and you haven't even gone. Mom, I go, you send me the phone. I am busy this afternoon to contact him. Okay. My mother was very happy. I went out and took a taxi to meet Yao Yao at the airport. She asked me what I had planned for the evening. I helplessly shook his head. I want a blind date. Her eyes widened. A blind date? Why don't you just ask me to introduce you? My mother introduced me, but I have to go there once. I don't want my mother to be sad with me. There was some traffic in the afternoon. I arrived a little late. Boys grow clean, but also with the quality. It's completely different from what I expected from a blind date. Hello, Song Kwan, he said gentlemanly as he pulled out my chair. Hello, Ginger. The two of us had a nice chat. It's mainly because he has people he likes and his family doesn't approve. In order to deal with blind date, we two people agreed to install a period of time lovers. I couldn't agree more. He walked me home. After saying goodbye, he turned and met Shintua. He stood there, his dark eyes fixed on me. I'm a little surprised. What are you doing here? Don't worry, the new house is right here. I nodded and walked past him. A cool voice sounded in the background. How long is my sister going to play with him this time? Shintua looked down at me. 3 months? 4 months? He sneered. I took out the key and opened the door. No answer. I didn't dare answer. Underscore 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 underscore. Junior year. I'm going out of town for an internship. A few days before I left, Uncle Shin and Aunt Shin came to see me. I don't know how they know about Shintua and me. Every year, I know that you and Shintua are in love. I won't stop you from falling in love. His father and I know his temperament and that you are a good boy. I kept my head down, blushed, and didn't know how to respond. But every year, because you have to go to other places for an internship, Shintua is secretly going through the formalities of leaving school these days. Can you help your aunt persuade him? His academic results have never been our concern, he's just ruining his future. I looked up in disbelief. I didn't go after my uncle and aunt left. I cried at my desk for a long time. Shintua called me so many times that I didn't answer. I didn't leave until after the coffee shop closed. Met Shintua on the way home. He rushed up and grabbed me by the wrist, his voice shaking. I thought something was wrong with you. Why didn't you answer the phone? Let's break up, Shintua. He was a little stunned. Still for a few seconds. His voice was hoarse. Why? I looked down and couldn't look him in the eye. Because I still don't like you. He fell on his knees before me like a detachment. I broke up to pull him up, how pull can not pull him. Then please, do you like me? I won't like you. It was as if my heart had been pulled by a powerful force, and the pain was so intense that I clenched my fists. He jerked to his feet and looked at me with anger and shock. Ginger, make up your mind. If you insist on breaking up, we'll never be able to do it again. I bit my lip and walked past him. I packed my bags that night. Shintua did not come back. Song Kwan picked me up at his house the next afternoon. See Shintua and Songyu that second I regret want to die. Songyu is Song Kwan's sister. Shintua and I didn't say much at the dinner table. Song Kwan saw something was wrong. Are you sick? Why are you eating so little? I smiled. No, maybe eating a little too much at noon, not too hungry. Shintua suddenly put a rib in my bowl. He did it on purpose. Doesn't my sister like ribs? There was a sudden silence. Father Song asked, do you know each other? I was afraid Shintua would say something shocking, so I quickly explained. Well, my father and his father are friends. Songyu nodded, so it is sister like to eat a little more, don't be polite. I listened to this sister especially harsh. After dinner. Song Kwan wants to see me off. Shintua said, no, I'm in the same neighborhood with my sister. It's on my way. Songyu looked at him reluctantly, not stay a little longer? Shintua shook his head at her. Let's go, sister. I followed. We didn't speak the whole way. I just sensed that he was angry. I took out the key and opened the door and turned on the light. Just as the door was closing, Shintua stopped it. I was shocked. What are you doing? Shintua. He pinned me against the wall and turned off the light. In the dark, sound is always very sensitive. He put my hand over his chest and around his neck. His lips trembled a little as he kissed mine, but did not move. Just as I was about to push him away, I felt a little wet on my face. I can't believe it. Shin-tua. Did he cry? 15. He released me and took a step back. After a while, he opened his mouth awkwardly. Sister, have you really forgotten me? Shin-tua, you already have Song-yu. Why do you ask? I don't have the relationship with her that you think. What kind of relationship is that? Is my sister jealous? He said in a tone of delight. I said, why should I be jealous? But I'm jealous, sister. He's the best at putting on a poor face. I pushed him out the door. He take my hand his forehead. Sister, I'm sick. No one will take care of me when I go back. It's scary hot. I took him into the room with a soft heart. Lie down. I brought him a basin of hot water and rubbed his forehead. He was quiet the whole time, just staring at me. Is there anything wrong with you? He looked at me and shook his head. I went to get him another towel to wipe his neck and arms. As soon as the sleeve pulls up, clearly saw on the wrist has a slender scar. My heart pounded and I looked up at him. He killed himself? You cut yourself? My voice trembled. Aha, Shin-tua closed his eyes. I remember the year after we broke up. I asked Yao Shin-tua inquired about the news. Shin-tua didn't come to school for more than a month after you left. When he came back to school, I heard that he had changed a lot. He was much more aloof, but his grades were still very good. I'm not surprised. He was never a gentleman. He was possessive, paranoid, fierce. Always with a gentle surface to cover his heart. That month did not go to school, it should be because he committed suicide it. In fact, there are signs to follow. But at that time, I reported for his good purposes, but gave him so much damage. I didn't go on thinking about it. Got up and wanted to change a basin of water. He suddenly take my hand. Sister, don't go any further, okay? My heart trembled suddenly. A tear fell from the corner of his eye. Sister, don't like other people, okay? I held his hand instead. This moment only once for him, is also for oneself. Even Comancheria. I'll do anything. I won't leave, and I won't like anyone else. I cried in his arms. Sorry. I took a few days off. Take care of him at home. He's getting clingy, and everything feels like it's back to the time I was at his house. Song Kwan called me that day to ask me out to dinner. I turned him down and told him why. No wonder, he said with a laugh, it didn't feel right at my house that day. I'm sorry, your sister. I'll talk to her. She's always known Shin-tua had a crush on someone. She shouldn't be surprised it's you. I'll ask Shin-tua to apologize to her. Shin-tua to Song-yu sent a message, thank her very much, but no other feelings. It turned out that his suicide was sent to the hospital Song-yu found. Shin-tua and good things, told her mother. I don't want to go on another blind date, and I don't want to lie to her. My mother sighed. After all these years, when you two get together again, my mother won't stop you. I was so happy that my mother understood me, thank you, Mom. The next step is to apologize to Uncle Shin and Aunt Shin. Shin-tua is their son after all. I have caused such a big blow to Shin-tua. They must be very angry with me. I thought about it and sighed. Shin-tua posted again. Kiss my neck. I pushed his head. You're cured. Go home. He complained, just to get back together, to throw me out, sister so cruel heart. Seriously, why didn't I see you taking a leave of absence? You're not working? I'm the boss. Take a break if you want. Okay, your boss, you're good. I'm a chosen worker. Your boss doesn't have to work, I have to go to work. I stood up and went to the closet. The job your boss gave you today is to serve a good boss. He jerked me into his arms. I am surprised to ask, Chinyuan partner is you? He pressed me against the bed and kissed me. Not partner. I hired him. How else can I trust you after all these years? When I first started working, I wasn't far from the stars. The wages are so low that the boss squeezes them. I had just left my job for a few days when I received an invitation from Xingyuan. Xingyuan was a small startup company at that time. I looked at the salary package and gave it a try. In the last few years, the company has grown bigger and bigger. I heard my colleague said Xingyuan is Kinshiyuan and a person partnership. But we've only seen one boss, Qin Shuan. So the other person was Shintua. I hold his hands on my chest. You little liar. Been lurking by my side for so long. The next day, Shin drove me back to his house. The car was parked downstairs, and I hesitated. He shook my hand. Don't overthink it. My aunt looked at me and he walked into the house hand in hand a little surprised. Old Shin, look who came back. Uncle Shin came out of the kitchen in an apron. Come back year after year. I didn't think my aunt and uncle weren't angry with me. Uncle, aunt, I'm sorry. My eye sockets began to grow sore and swollen. What are you talking about, silly child? Your uncle and I didn't mean to break you two up. After you left, this guy. Let's not talk about it. Just come back. My aunt took my hand and led me inside. Shintua after suicide, aunt and uncle to find my things with Shintua said. Only then did he know why I had left. Shin uncle said to him at that time, like to go back, depressed like what? He looked for Qin Shuan to start a business. He gives money, but Qin Shi Yuan gives strength. We said goodbye to his parents and Shin opened the door for me. I sat down in it. At the door, I stopped Shintua. Go back to your house. He stares at me aggrievedly. The elder sister always abandons. Don't act pathetic, I need to rest. Shintua crowded into the room with me in his arms. Why didn't I give you a break? I pinched his waist, and he asked. When will my sister take me home? I was stunned for a moment. I'll call my mother and tell her. I called my mother 3 times in a row, but no one answered. I called Dad again. It's loud on Dad's side. Dad, why didn't anyone answer the phone when I called my mom? Every year, your mother. My head buzzed and my hands began to shake. The cell phone slipped out of my hand and fell to the floor. Shintua drove me to the hospital. Dad said Mom suddenly fainted at home, without consciousness. Now in the emergency room, under the critically ill notice. I prayed the whole way that Mom was okay. Shintua also comforted me all the way. When I got to the hospital, I called my father. My father told me to go to the first floor to see my mother one last time. I almost fainted. I haven't seen my mother for a long time. It was a cold body when we said goodbye. She lay there as peaceful as if she were asleep. Shintua and I went home to stay with Dad. Dad seems to have aged a lot in a few days. One night I heard my father crying in his room. I opened the door a crack and my father held my mother's picture in his hand. Dad is a veteran. I've never seen him cry. He didn't cry the day his mother died. And he said, your mother died of a heart attack. She didn't suffer. I cover my lips, quietly closed the door. Back to the room holding Shintua, cried until dawn. Shintua and I are going to take Dad downtown. Dad said not to go anywhere. He said, your mother gave me a dream, and I promised her I would stay here with her. Of course I don't. He can't bear to leave the old house. The old house held their memories for a lifetime. I envy my parents that generation of love. So sure, so pure. In the 3 years since Mom left, Shintua and I often go back to stay with my father. Shintua always plays chess with his father. Father said, Shintua always came to our home to learn chess from me when he was a child. I think about it, his family seems to have lived here for only a short time before they moved away. I don't remember him playing chess with you. You were jumping up and down like a monkey. Who could you see? Shintuo's face was covered with smiles. After returning home, I pressed Shintuo said things in childhood. He said he once had a boy steal his toy. He got into a fight with the boy. Then I passed by and gave the boy a piece of my mind. Shintuo is a good boy. How could he beat you? I also led Shintuo to the boy's parents. The boy was out of breath from crying. Apologized to Shintuo. Shintuo started channeling to my home at that time. It's just that I like to play with older kids. Not long after that, because of his parents' work problems, the family moved away. He smiled at my shocked face. That sounds like fun, huh? I picked up the pillow and hit him on the head. Funny? You're a little liar. He said he was possessive and his toy was his toy. Mom and Dad always talk about sharing. Never asked him if he wanted to share. I'm the first one to stand up for him. So he remembers for a long, long time. Shintuo said he was going on a business trip. I haven't heard from you in days. When you get it, you don't value it. Wednesday afternoon. Shintuo came to see me at the company. I'm a little surprised he came straight over. That's right. People don't know he's the boss. I packed my bag and went out with him. Wow, your boyfriend is so handsome. He looks so nice. Does he have any friends or anything? Introduce him. Right. Handsome men must be around handsome men, too. A few of my coworkers dragged me into gossip. I sighed. Believe me, what you see may not be what you think. I got into the car, fastened my seatbelt, and turned to look at him. Why didn't you tell me you were back? He smiled meaningfully. I have a surprise for you. What surprise? I asked curiously. He didn't say anything. The car stopped in front of the palace. This is a party restaurant. Are you crazy? What are we doing here? He still doesn't speak. I followed him into the private room with a puzzled look on my face. When you open the door, my father, his parents, and some unfamiliar relatives are all here. What the hell is going on? Shintuo suddenly got down on one knee. He pulled a diamond ring from his breast. Her mother handed over a bunch of flowers. He said, Ginger, I've been thinking a lot about how to propose to you. How can I surprise you? I conjured up countless scenarios in my mind. I'm not satisfied with either. So I went to invite all the elders of my family over these days. As a witness. Will it make you feel more secure? Ever since I met you, everything is different now. After we moved, I thought I'd never see you again. I didn't expect to see you again. I think it's a gift from God. I love you so much. Not in a romantic way. It's from the heart. Will you marry me? My eyes began to moisten. His eyes were full of love. I sniffed. I do. He picked me up happily. The laughter of the elders. Let me shyly bury on his shoulder. The day of the wedding. Yao Yao sent a bottle of red wine. When I got home, Shintuo said that he would pester me to drink whatever he could. Probably after a long day. I don't have much to drink. I feel a bit dazed. I lay down on the bed and refused to drink anymore. Shintuo picked me up and gave me a bath. Put it on the bed and I fell asleep. Shintuo said something in my ear when he was half asleep and half awake. In a daze, I agreed. The next morning I woke up and Shintuo was gone. I look at the hickeys all over me. Suddenly remembered last night in the dream that sentence. Sister, will you give me a baby? He tricked me into drinking on purpose. Tricked me into saying yes. I picked up my cell phone and called Shintua. Without waiting for him to speak, I angrily yelled at him. Shintua, you little liar. I didn't want to hear any more of his laughter and hung up. I touched it under the covers. Woo woo woo. He really didn't do anything.